Good evening. My name is Kenda Polio. I'm with KP Environmental, and I will be facilitating this evening's meeting. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight's public information forum will include an introduction by the Las Vegas field manager, Shauna, followed by introductions of the participants from the BLM Southern Nevada District and KP Environmental. And we are the third-party contractor facilitating the meeting. After the introductions, Jessica Heaton, the BLM project manager, will present on the proposed Golden Currant Solar Project and provide a short overview of the BLM renewable energy application evaluation process. Following the presentations, there'll be a question and answer session facilitated by myself with KP Environmental. Responses will be provided by the Bureau of Land Management. Then we'll open it up for a public input session. We will then close out this evening. I want to remind everyone that questions will be answered during the Q&A session, and the public input session will be for public comments. They will be recorded and they will be part of the public record. In addition, the video from this evening will be posted on the project information webpage at the address that we will show on the screen, as well as in the chat. You can go to your chat feature at the bottom of your screen, as we will provide some links and email addresses as we move through the presentation. Now I will turn it over to the BLM field manager for short introductions and an overview of our presentation and other participants for this evening's meeting.
Thank you, Kenda, and good evening, everyone. My name is Shauna Duman, and I'm the field manager for the BLM Las Vegas field office. I definitely want to start off by thanking everyone for coming to the meeting tonight. It's great to see such a good attendance, and we had a great attendance last night as well. So we really appreciate you joining us and providing your comments on this project tonight. As we present on the Golden Currant Solar Project, we're going to be providing information on where we are on the process and how you can provide input. Your input will help the BLM analyze the appropriateness of a solar project in this location. As Kenda said, Jessica Heaton is the BLM project manager and will be providing the presentation shortly. And you've also heard from Kenda, who is the principal for KP Environmental. She's going to be moderating the Q&A session as well as the public input session. On this slide, you will see the BLM specialists working behind the scenes to provide you the answers that you put in the Q&A feature. Kenda will go over how to utilize that feature later in the presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kenda.
Thank you very much. Okay, so tonight's forum will provide opportunities for questions and public input. As I mentioned, there will be a question and answer session where written questions can be submitted. There will also be an opportunity for verbal public input towards the end of the information forum. I'll discuss more information about how to participate in both of these parts of the meeting. The BLM is also providing an opportunity after this meeting for public input and questions. This will go on until August 5th, 2022. Input and questions can be submitted via email to the email address on the screen or via mail to the BLM Southern Nevada District Office. We'll also provide this information, these links at the end of the meeting. Okay, next slide. So I want to make sure that you note that before including your address, phone number, email address, and other personal identifying information in your comment, you should be aware that your entire comment, including your personal identifying information, may be publicly available at any time. While you can ask that your personal identifying information be withheld from public review, the BLM cannot guarantee that they will be able to do so. Anonymity is not allowed for submissions from organizations or businesses and from individuals identifying themselves as representatives of officials of organizations or businesses. Okay, with that, Jessica will present an overview of the Golden Currant Solar Project, as well as the BLM solar application evaluation and variance process. I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Kenda. On the screen, you will see a map of the Pahrump Valley. This information forum is for the Golden Currant Solar Project, which is outlined on the map in yellow. Also shown on the map are other approved and proposed solar projects within the Pahrump Valley. The Yellow Pine Solar Project is shown in purple on the map. The project was authorized with a record of decision in the fall of 2020 and is currently under construction. The BLM previously held application evaluation public information forums for the Copper Rays and Rough Hat Clark solar projects, shown on the map in dark blue and light blue respectively. Both projects received favorable application evaluations. The next step for the Copper Rays project in the dark blue and the Rough Hat Clark County solar project in the light blue will be publication of notices of intent to prepare environmental impact statements and resource management plan amendments. The publication of the notices of intent will kick off public scoping periods that will include their own virtual public scoping forums and public comment periods. All comments received during public information forums for those projects will be brought forward and considered during the environmental review of those projects. Application review for the Rough Hat Nye County Solar Project, shown on the map outlined in red, is currently paused at the request of the project sponsor while they work with the county and community on the concerns that they heard for the project. Noble Solar has submitted a right-of-way application for the Golden Currant Solar Project. The right-of-way request is to utilize public land in Clark County for the construction, operation, and eventual decommissioning of a proposed solar facility and interconnection to the regional transmission system. The proposed project is a 400 megawatt photovoltaic solar facility with battery storage, located on approximately 4,364 acres of BLM administered lands, 5 miles southeast of the town of Pahrump and 26 miles west of Las Vegas. The map on the screen shows the proposed solar facility in red near the Nevada-California border. The proposed generation tie line runs northeast of the project, parallel with Tacoma Springs Road, to the approved Trout Canyon substation, shown as the orange box on the top right of the map. The Trout Canyon substation was approved with the Yellow Pine project recently completed construction. This map shows the location of the proposed Golden Currant Solar Project in relation to local roads and streets within the Pahrump area, including Tacoma Springs Road, Cathedral Canyon Road, and Frontside Road. The photovoltaic modules installed on site would convert sunlight to direct current electricity, which is then collected and converted into alternating current electricity through a system of inverters. The on-site transformers would step up the alternating current electricity and deliver it to a proposed on-site substation. Once electricity reaches the on-site substation, it would be delivered off-site to the BLM approved Trout Canyon substation or the point of interconnections via generation tie lines. In addition, battery storage facilities will be constructed on-site. The preliminary plan of development for the proposed project is available online at the project website, which will be provided in a link in the chat. The flow chart on the screen shows the application evaluation process, which begins with the submittal of a solar project application. The application is then prioritized based on the regulations and involves interdisciplinary team review. This helps the BLM prioritize and process the solar application workload more efficiently. After prioritization, the BLM reviews where they fit within the district's work plan based on their priority level, and once work starts on the application, initiates the solar application evaluation process. This includes the variance process we will discuss in more detail later. The application evaluation and variance process involves public information forums, agency and tribal coordination. When the evaluation is complete, the BLM will determine whether to continue to process the application. If the BLM determines to continue processing, that is when the National Environmental Policy Act environmental review process, including analysis and public involvement, would initiate. These public forums for the Golden Currant Solar Project are part of the early stages of the Renewable Energy Project application evaluation process. In 2012, the BLM and Department of Energy issued the final programmatic environmental impact statement for solar energy development in 6 southwestern states. This document provided information to improve efficiency and created processes to standardize the review of solar applications in a more environmentally responsible manner. The solar PEIS designated solar energy zones that are suited for utility scale production of solar energy. Outside of the established solar energy zones are variance areas. Applications within variance areas are considered on a case-by-case basis based on environmental consideration and coordination with federal, state, and local government agencies, tribes, and public input. Solar development in variance areas is subject to the BLM's variance process, which is separate and comes before the NEPA process. The Golden Currant Solar Project is located in a variance area and is subject to the variance process. The variance process is part of the application evaluation process described in the BLM's right-of-way regulations. The variance process focuses on collection and evaluation of resource data with input from the public, tribes, and federal, state, and local governments. This input and evaluation of data helps BLM to assess the appropriateness of the solar proposal. Tonight's public information forum and the public input period that lasts until August 5th provide you an opportunity to have input on the Golden Currant Solar Project. The information gathered during the meeting and the input period will inform the application evaluation and variance process and assist BLM in making a determination on whether to continue to process the application and begin NEPA. Currently, we are still in the early stages of processing the Golden Currant Solar Project application. After the public information forums have concluded, we will continue to gather public input on the project until August 5th, 2022. The information we gather, including input from the public, agencies, and tribes, will be presented to the BLM State Director, who will, with concurrence from the BLM Director, make the determination on whether the project will move forward to the NEPA process. The determination on this project is anticipated in the fall of 2022. Helpful input and information from you would include potential local concerns, opportunities, and barriers related to the proposed project. We would also appreciate input about the types and use within the proposed project area or resource concerns. Some examples could include types of recreational activities and opportunities that are conducted within the project area, resource concerns for wildlife, vegetation, visual resources, and any other local factors. For projects subject to the variance process, like Golden Currant Solar Project, the BLM will also consider the variance factors described in the solar PEIS. Any input you may have related to the variance factors would also be helpful at this time. A detailed list of the various factors can be found at the link on the slide, We will also provide the link in the chat. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Kenda, who will begin the question and answer session.
Okay, thank you very much. So as indicated, we'll go ahead and begin the question and answer section of the program. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see a Q&A feature. If you click on the Q&A feature, it basically shows on the screen that you can see on Zoom what it looks like. And you can type your question in and you can hit send. That sends in your question. We will be responding to questions verbally, as many as we can. And then we will also respond to some in writing in the Q&A feature. So you will see those in writing as well as hearing them by Jessica. So we'll go ahead and get started shortly, but I do want to remind everyone of a couple things. One, we have the information on the website is at the bottom of this screen. So this will stay up so you can copy down that address. Also, as mentioned in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, you will see a number of links that we've been discussing, and people, both Jessica and myself, Shauna have mentioned. And so those are in the chat feature. So you will be able to see those as well. Also, I will remind everyone that as we move into the public input session, we will, you go, please. We will be asking you to provide input and comments. We will not go back to responding. So if there are questions that you have, you can still ask those questions as we move into that public input section. However, we will be answering those in writing in the Q&A feature. We will not be answering those verbally, so we'll not be going back. There are a number of people in attendance, so we do want to make ample time for people to provide public input. We see a lot of questions that are already coming in, so I will let you know that there are questions coming in. We will go ahead and get started. There are a number of questions also that came in through the online portal, the registration. So when you register for Sign Up Genius, a number of people did put in questions. So we will start responding to those questions that did come in, and then we'll move to the questions that have been coming in this evening. So again, it seems like there's a lot of really good participation. We have a lot of people joining, a lot of questions have come in. So definitely want to thank you for that. Also, we will be pausing briefly as we move between questions just to make sure that we have the answers ready and to allow Jessica to come on and respond to those. So with that, I'm going to pause for one moment and we will then be starting the question and answer section. So just 1 minute and I'll be back. Okay, we are going to get started in just one moment. I will also remind everyone just to go ahead and make sure that as we move in to the public input session, we will go in order of people that also registered. Want to get through as many of those people as we possibly can. And your comment, while we're on a pause, your comment is, we're asking you to stick to a 2-minute time frame. So we can't allow as many people as possible to make public comments and provide input. So again, if you can consider, if you are going to be making public input, if you can think about your input and keep it to that 2-minute time frame. Okay, we're going to go on a brief pause and I'll be right back and we'll start the Q&A section. Okay, we may be having a brief technical difficulty. So again, I apologize. If you could give us 1 more minute, we will come back.
Thank you, Kenda. Unfortunately, we're experiencing some technical difficulties here within the BLM office, but we do have some questions that we received during registration that we're going to go ahead and answer. And hopefully the technical issues will resolve themselves and we continue to move forward through the Q&A section.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yes. So one of the questions that we received during the registration I've read that the desert crust, plants, and root systems store carbon and keep CO2 out of the atmosphere. Is this true? How will bulldozing the soil crust and plant life affect this carbon storage? Currently, the BLM is reviewing the project through the variance process. If there is a favorable variance determination made for the project, the BLM would continue processing this application by initiating an environmental review, the NEPA process. Carbon sequestration and greenhouse gases would be analyzed during that process. The applicant is studying the project site to develop a more refined project design, and the BLM would work with the applicant to avoid, where appropriate, development in areas with biological soil crust. If the project receives a favorable variance determination, options for site preparation method and loss of soil crust would be considered during the environmental review process. All right. And let's see, the next question that we received from this evening: what is the tallest yucca that has been documented on this site? The applicant has not yet conducted botanical resource surveys on the site. BLM welcomes the submittal of any information that the public may have pertaining to resources located within the project site. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, the BLM would proceed to a detailed environmental analysis in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act. That analysis would include a detailed evaluation of botanical resources. Okay, we just received another question. Would the construction company use Cathedral Canyon Road to access the site? The project proposes to utilize State Route 160 and Tacoma Road for access. For more detailed information, please see the preliminary plan of development for the project online at the link provided in the chat. An additional question we received: will the developer be permitted to buy water rights from landowner in Pahrump like Nextera did for Yellow Pine? Noble Solar has stated in their preliminary plan of development that the most probable source of construction and operation phase water for the proposed project would be water purchased from a commercial source or a use with an existing appropriation. It would then be trucked or piped to the project site where it would be stored in an on-site water storage tank. The project does not anticipate drilling any new water wells. The Nevada Division of Water Resources is responsible for the allocation of water resources within the state of Nevada. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, the BLM will consider impacts from water use during the environmental review NEPA process. BLM considers water, both surface and groundwater, within the broader context of all resources on BLM administered lands and their interactions as they relate to BLM responsibilities. An additional question we received: how many feet from Cathedral Canyon private property line is the Golden Currant site? The Golden Currant site is adjacent to private lands in the vicinity of Cathedral Canyon. How many feet away from the Stump Springs ACEC is the Golden Currant site? The project is approximately 6,293 feet away. See, another question that we just received: this project was labeled medium priority because of its proximity to Stump Springs ACEC and the Old Spanish Trail. Why is BLM moving forward so quickly? The BLM is responding to multiple applications received for large-scale solar development in the Pahrump Valley. The Southern Nevada District has 30 pending applications for renewable energy right-of-way, including the applications in Pahrump Valley, and is utilizing a process provided for in the regulations for prioritizing processing of renewable energy applications. The application prioritization process involves a preliminary review by interdisciplinary resource specialists. Then, based on the preliminary review, prioritization processing of applications that have the fewest resource conflicts and the greatest likelihood of success in the permitting process. The projects in the Pahrump Valley were rated as high, there's 3 of them, and medium priority, 1, for processing, and are subject to a case-by-case application evaluation process. BLM has initiated work on the Golden Currant Solar Project application, determined by the BLM to be medium priority for processing, and is in the application evaluation phase now. Okay, we just received another question. Would there still be public access to the area, i.e., could I hike through the area as I can now? If not, in what sense is the land still public? The BLM is currently requesting information about potential impacts to public access and recreation within and adjacent to the proposed site. Helpful information to submit at this time could include local knowledge of trails and routes used within the project area and impacts to recreational experience on the trails. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination as part of the environmental review process, potential impacts on trails and recreation, including potential mitigation measures as needed, would be evaluated. For past projects such measures have included changes to the proposed project layout to preserve trail segments and maintain access to specific recreational resources. Please just give us a moment as we prepare some additional questions and review them so we can respond. Thank you.
And I'll remind everyone again that the website is on the bottom of the screen. In the chat, we have posted the email and the mailing address. As you've heard, additional questions and public comments can come in until August 5th. So I did want to remind everyone of that again. We will be going into the public input section here after we get to these questions. So thank you for bearing with us, and I'm glad that we were able to modify. Technical difficulties sometimes happen. So thank you all for bearing with us.
Thank you, Kenda, for the reminders. We received another question. Who will receive power from the project? The project sponsor, Noble Solar, has indicated that a purchase for the power proposed to be generated from the project site has not been identified yet. The Golden Currant Solar Project proposes to interconnect to the Trout Canyon substation, which would allow the power to be provided to the California Independent System Operator and NV Energy Systems. Noble Solar has included job creation estimates for the proposed project in the preliminary plan of development, which is, again, the site is listed on the website on the slide on the page now. Thank you. The next question we received is how many people are attending this evening? Right now, we have 21 folks online for the meeting currently attending. The next question we received, would there still be public access to the area? Oh, I apologize. I believe we've already addressed this question. Okay, the next question, what is the financial renewal to Nye County Commissioners and to the County of Nye and to the town of Pahrump and to the same of Clark County as a result of this potential project? The BLM does not have authority relating to payments to the county or town by the project sponsor. All right, we received additional questions. What is the tallest yucca that's been documented to site? Botanical surveys do not include individual plant heights, unfortunately. The next question, would the permitted herbicides be harmful to insects, birds, tortoises, and people riding ATVs, hiking, or camping near the Golden Currant site? Only those approved in the record of decision for the 17 Western states EIS decision for vegetation treatments and Southern Nevada District Office's biological opinion would be used on the site. Please bear with us while we review some additional questions to provide answers. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kenda. I'll also remind everyone that the public input will be organized as people registered for the open house. So we will be taking those public input in order of registration. We'll first go through that list of people. Subsequently, we will take, even if you have thought of something, maybe you didn't identify that you originally wanted to provide public comment, but based on the presentation, you now do, that is absolutely fine. We'll get through those first group, the ones that pre-registered and said that they wanted to. Then what we'll do is we'll move on to people that may be on the call that did not identify that. Subsequent to that, if we still have time, we will then move into anybody that remains that would like to provide additional comment. So we'll kind of go in that order. So I did want to let everyone know we are going to try to get through some more questions, but close to the top of the hour, close to 7 o'clock, we will try to transition into that public comment section in order to make sure that everyone does have that opportunity. Okay, thank you. Again, want to making sure everyone is aware of the process that we are going to use tonight.
Thank you again, Kenda, for the guidance and the reminders. We have our next question. Commenters yesterday mentioned mesquite woodland in the area. Is there in a riparian habitat near the area? And would this ecosystem be disturbed if the project is approved? Given the geographical limited range of mesquite trees within the proposed project area, the BLM anticipates mesquite bosque could be avoided. If mesquite bosque could not be avoided, off-site mitigations to improve conditions in adjacent mesquite habitats may be considered. Information about existing mesquite bosque in and around the proposed project location is being gathered. Help fulfill evaluate this resource. If you have information about this resource, please provide it to the BLM Energy Project email provided in the chat. And we have our next question. Can public opinion convince BLM to stop a project during the variance process and before NEPA? The BLM is responsible for making the determination on whether to continue processing the solar project application or deny the application. Currently, the project is being reviewed under the application evaluation determination process. Once sufficient information on the project has been collected by the BLM and from other parties like the public, other agencies, and tribes, then BLM will make a determination on the application after considering all of the information collected. The application evaluation determination will be made after the public information forms and periods have been completed. It's estimated this will happen in late 2022. To ensure a consistent application of the variance process, all solar application and variance areas that are determined to be appropriate for continued processing will be submitted by the BLM State Director to the BLM Washington office for the director's concurrence. Okay, we received our next question. The planning area is Visual Resource Management Category 2. Visual Resource 1 being the highest and the most pristine ranking, projects must be built to not dominate or negatively impact the viewscape. Is hiding the panels from view part of the planning criteria? How will it be done? Planning criteria guide development of the resource management plan amendment process by helping define BLM's decision space. They are generally based upon applicable laws, BLM director and state director guidance, and the results of public and government participation. Should the Golden Currant project receive a favorable application evaluation determination and a need for a resource management plan amendment, we're identified in order to achieve conformance for visual resources or other resources. BLM will develop planning criteria prior to processing to the detailed environmental analysis in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act. Okay, we've received our next question. During the assessment, do you consider if alternative generation technology would be better for the environment? Examples, rooftop solar, brownfield solar. The BLM is required by law to respond to applications filed on BLM managed lands and has no authority or influence over the installation or distributed generation system, also known as rooftop solar. And our next question, how old is the untouched desert pavement on the Golden Currant site? The age of the desert pavement in the Golden Currant site is unknown at this time. Currently, there has been no extensive studies in the project area. The estimated age of other desert pavements in general is up to 7,000 years old. Okay, we received a question again about the number of attendants for tonight's meeting. And currently we have 21 attendants for this evening's public information forum. Okay, we received our next question. It's the public lands for the public use. Congress tasked the BLM with a mandate of managing public lands for a variety of uses such as energy development, livestock grazing, recreation, and timber harvesting, while ensuring natural, cultural, and historical resources are maintained for present and future use. To do this, BLM manages public lands to maximize opportunities for commercial, recreational, and conservation activities. This promotes healthy and productive public lands that create jobs in local communities while supporting traditional land uses such as responsible energy development, timber harvesting, grazing, and recreation, including hunting and fishing. And our next question is, how would the developer build around the deep canyons, box canyons, and washes on this site? Would they need to dig an extensive culvert to reroute water flow like at Yellow Pine Solar? We are currently in the very early stages of application review, conducting application evaluation. If the project receives a favorable determination, the BLM will initiate environmental review. If the project is approved, the project sponsor will submit engineering construction plans prior to BLM approving the project to proceed with construction activities. Please just give us a moment. We're still reviewing questions.
Okay, yes. So while we're on a pause, I will remind everyone that, again, the email address and the mailing address for submitting additional questions and comments is in the chat. There are also some additional website links that you may find additional information. We are looking about, moving as soon as we finish the live questions, we will be moving into the public input section. I know it's very good attendance. We have a lot of questions coming in. We do appreciate everyone's involvement and everyone's time, especially in the evening hours. We know how valuable your time is. So thank you.
Thank you, Kenda. We received our next question. The local tribe, Pahrump Paiute tribe, wasn't involved with the Yellow Pine Solar Project due to BLM never reaching out to them. Will the BLM be involving them in the proposed solar site in Pahrump Valley and Amargosa, or will they be left out again? The BLM has initiated consultation with 13 tribes. For this proposed project, the specific protocols for how consultation proceeds and what the consultation looks like is dependent on the BLM's relationship with each tribe. Generally, this consultation consists of coordination between the BLM's authorized officer and the individual tribal governments to identify specific tribal concerns and work with the necessary individuals to address those concerns. These efforts are part of an ongoing relationship between the BLM and each tribal government. Okay, we've received our next question. How was the determination made for the need for multiple solar farms now proposed? The BLM is required to respond to applications that are submitted for renewable energy projects. We are currently in the early stages review process for this project, conducting the application evaluation. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, the BLM will initiate environmental review. The environmental review would include consideration of the purpose and need for the proposed project. My apologies. I was informed that the question may have cut out, so I'm going to restate the question and the answer. How was the determination made for the need for the multiple solar farms now proposed? The BLM is required to respond to applications that are submitted for renewable energy projects. We are currently in the early review of the project, conducting the application evaluation. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, the BLM will initiate environmental review. The environmental review would include considerations of the consideration of the purpose and the need for the proposed project. We'd like to thank everyone again for submitting their questions. Please bear with us while we continue to review them to provide answers. Thank you. Okay, we've received our next question. What would happen to the giant yucca on the Golden Currant site that was featured in the March 13th, 2022 Las Vegas Sun article photo gallery online? If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination and the environmental review NEPA process is initiated, types and alternatives for replanting of vegetation species within the project area would be analyzed. During the environmental review process, the BLM would make effort to avoid, minimize, and mitigate impacts to vegetation. Okay, we received our next question. Has the BLM actually been on the property? If so, you would know a great deal of it includes washes, some quite wide and deep, that run across the whole property. Is it even legal to tear up an area that facilitates the flow of water into an already low watershed? The BLM has conducted site surveys to the proposed project site and is familiar with the terrain on the site. The applicant will be conducting site studies that would inform the design of their proposed project. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, the BLM will initiate environmental review for the proposed project. The review would include mitigations and developments of a range of alternatives.
I will remind everyone that we will be moving into the public input section here shortly. Not right this minute, but again, we will be moving there soon. I also will remind everyone that we will be able to respond to questions in writing as the meeting continues. And again, you will be able to submit questions and comments as identified in the email and mailing address that we talked about up to August 5th. So I know that we'll probably take maybe a couple more and then we'll move on to that public input section.
All right, thank you, Kenda. We've received our next question. What would happen to the solar panels at the end of their lives? If the project is approved, the developer will be required to provide a bond that will ensure that the site is reclaimed after the useful life of the project. At the time of decommissioning, the most appropriate method for disposal will be utilized. The applicant will be required to develop a decommissioning plan, which would identify the methods of removal of the solar panels. Okay, we've received our next question. Why can't BLM place these installations in lands other than populations affected and recreation affected and wildlife affected areas, as all of these applications seem to be? If there are millions of acres of BLM land in the 6-state area, surely you could put these installations somewhere the human and animal and plant populations would not contest them vehemently, plus making the approval process more successful. The applicant Noble Solar identified and applied for the proposed project site. The lands being requested in the application were identified in the solar PEIS as variance lands, where solar energy development application can be considered on a case-by-case basis. The BLM must consider the appropriateness of the application utilizing the variance process that was identified in the solar PEIS. The current public input meetings and public input period are a critical piece of the variance process and will inform BLM's decision on whether to continue processing the application, which initiates the NEPA process. How would fugitive dust affect air quality for people camping at nearby Stump Springs and living in Charleston View? Construction of solar energy facilities may disrupt drainage patterns, cause surface disturbances, and soil compaction, resulting in increased erosion, runoff, dust, and sedimentation. The solar PEIS has required design features for air quality and soil, which would be incorporated into this project. Construction-related impacts are mitigated by implementing best management practices, site-specific mitigation measures, and standard operating procedures that would reduce soil erosion potentially. If the project receives a favorable application evaluation determination, mitigations would be determined during the environmental review of the project. The project would also have to comply with Clark County permit requirements such as air quality permit.
Okay, I think we are going to move on to our public input section. Okay, as you can see on the screen, this does provide information on how to provide verbal input. As I've mentioned before, input will be accepted in the order of people that registered, that identified that they would want to provide public comment. Once your name is called, please use the raise the hand feature at the bottom of your screen. When you do that, we will unmute your mic and we will open up your microphone. At the end of your comment, we will also remute your mic. So you will be able to speak during that time frame. Please only use the raise the hand feature when we call your name. It does get confusing if the raise the hand feature is up. So we are trying to search through a number of different participants. If you're on the phone, you can use the raise the hand feature by dialing *9 and then mute and unmute using *6. You will see a timer displayed on the screen and that shows the remaining time. Please be cognizant of that time. In addition, your input will be part of the public record. Okay, let's go on to the next slide and we'll get started. The BLM does want to hear from everyone. We do want to make sure that we get to everyone, and please, out of respect for everyone participating, please use the following guidelines. You can stay within your allotted time so everyone can speak. You'll see the clock counting down. When it gets to red, you only have a few seconds left, so please try to wrap it up. Please be respectful of others that have spoken previously, and please refrain from profanity. If you do not follow these guidelines, we will have to mute your microphone and move on to the next person. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I'll go ahead and identify. You'll see the group on the right-hand side of the slide. These are the people that did register, and this is in order of registration. So the first person is Chris Maslow. Chris, can you use the raise the hand feature? Okay, we do not seem to have Chris on the phone. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next person. Joyce Berishman. I see Joyce. I see you've raised your hand. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and unmute. You can try to unmute as well before we get started. There you go. I see your mic is unmuted. We'll go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen of Nye County and Pahrump, you're being lied to. The only reason they want to come and destroy our environment, bring down our housing costs, and set up solar farms that will raise the temperature and destroy our environment is because they want to use our roads and they want to suck the lifeblood out of our aquifers, our water. There's no other reason why they don't go deep into the desert where nobody lives, other than our roads, other than sucking the lifeblood of our water out of our aquifers. Ladies and gentlemen of Pahrump and Nye County, I urge you Call your friends, get your relatives, get your neighbors, everybody involved in this so we can stop this the same way that we stopped this from happening at Red Hat or Rough Hat or whatever. We just moved here from Los Angeles. Oh, by the way, all of this power is not going to Pahrump. It's not going to Nevada. It's all going to be shipped to California. We are not even going to get trinkets and beads for this. The amount of jobs that they're going to provide is nothing. The taxes that are going to be contributed is absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing that this will do that will make our lives better whatsoever. It will destroy our property taxes. It will destroy our environment. It will destroy our wildlife. It'll destroy our fauna and plants. It'll do nothing but take from us. It's not going to give us anything back whatsoever. They wouldn't even offer an extra dime of extra power to any one resident here in Pahrump. So I urge you, get your family, get your friends, get your neighbors, get everybody involved to stop this. They're vampires. There's nothing in it for us. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, thank you for your comment and thank you for sticking to the 2 minutes. Okay, the next person is Kevin Emmerich. You can, okay, I see you raise the hand. You can unmute your mic. Okay, you may go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, this is Kevin Emmerich, and I'm representing Basin and Range Watch, an organization that follows badly cited renewable energy projects. And this one's a poster child of such a thing. I want to point out first that you mentioned you didn't know the ages of the desert pavement. There was no information about that, but the United States Geological Survey did make a map. Geologist Matt McCacken made this map, and I'll get it to you as a reference. And the desert pavement is 100,000 years old, according to some of the research. And that's what's really instrumental in holding the dust down and keeping everything together. And that, of course, is all being destroyed for yellow pine solar. I want to comment on the variance process. In 2014, the variance process was used in California for Silurian Valley Solar, a very similar project, a little smaller, but it was really close to the old Spanish Trail, very visible from wilderness areas and even some national park areas. And it had a lot of conflict with the public and user groups. And the BLM, in response to strong public opinion against it, canceled that project in the variance process. And that was before NEPA. The National Environmental Policy Act requires you to consider substantive comments that are not only based on public opinion, but the variance process is a little bit more loose. And I urge you as a public agency that works for the public to listen to the public and cancel this project. It's just no good. It has grave environmental impact. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, the next person is Kim Hover. Kim, I am seeing if you're available. Okay, we do not see Kim on the line. Okay, we'll move on to the next person. The next person is Robert Adams. Okay, Mr. Adams, we see you on. Okay, good. If you want to unmute your mic. Okay, you can go ahead.
I'll just line up with the other opinions that this is just a project that's too big. It's too close to Pahrump, and it's exasperated by taking five big projects, and put them together. In other words, these projects should be smaller and they should be separated. That's something we don't want to have them do, is to dominate the desert landscape. And limited use is a good resource plan, and dispersing that limited use is a better resource plan. So limited dispersed use. Let's make them smaller and let's separate them so they don't put up just huge roadblocks to block the desert from other users. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Mike Garbiden. And again, I apologize if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. Okay, we do not see him on the line. Okay, Judy Brampman. Okay, Judy. You can unmute your mic.
Hi, I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I oppose this project. Real stewardship of our public land should include a thorough and scientific review of the true intent of each project and where each fits into the much larger whole. Mainly if the energy can be produced more efficiently, and with less cost to the public, without destruction of valuable biodiverse lands, then these means should be prioritized. And as you know, mainly we need solar produced in on the thousands of miles of square miles of parking lots, which will produce many more jobs than the time-limited construction of these destructive projects in the desert. They should be placed on homes, warehouses, malls, schools, et cetera, et cetera. It's also, there's no lack of irony in the idea that creating green energy by destroying desert lands that are well known to sequester carbon, it's beyond irony. In California, at least 10% of the carbon sequestration is done through the desert lands. And I assume in Nevada, it's much, much, much higher amount of, of the state. So why not prioritize letting the desert do what it does so well instead of destroying it? And I'd also like to say this has been an incredibly short public input period. I think since I got the notice, less than a month. And I don't understand why that's happening. And also 21 people is not a lot of attendees on an issue this important. So I'm wondering why even more aren't involved in this input. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, the next person is Christina Sanchez. You can raise your hand. Okay, I don't see Christina on here, so we'll move on to the next person. Okay, the next person is Deborah Savitt. Okay. Go on to Patrick Donnelly. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to the next 10 people that pre-registered. Shannon Salter. Okay, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Yeah, so, I've been camping quite a bit outside the Yellow Pine Solar site and documenting the destruction there. I am with an organization called Mojave Green, and I've been posting the photos of the massive destruction on mojavegreen.org. And Justin McAfee, a filmmaker in Las Vegas, recently completed another episode of Desert Apocalypse. And so on desertapocalypse.com, you can see drone footage of the Yellow Pine Solar site, and you can see how they've just completely decimated everything. The ancient pavement is completely gone. All of the vegetation is completely gone. And even though they're spraying 350,000 gallons of water per day, it's a total dust hazard. I've been documenting dust blowing off the site every single day. And in heavy winds, it's just a dust storm out there. It's a mess. Another thing is that there are a number of trails running through the proposed Golden Currant site. There's some of them are Jeep trails, clear Jeep trails. There's one that starts at the border of the Yellow Pine site, the south border of the Yellow Pine site, and it's accessed off of Tacopa Road. and it runs all the way to Front Sight Road and then beyond. It continues on to Cathedral Canyon Road, and there's multiple road OHV trails there, and I've hiked extensively on those trails. I've documented yucca that are 15 feet tall, some of the biggest yucca I've ever seen. And also Cathedral Canyon there is a significant historical cultural resource. I go there 2 to 3 times a week. I almost always see other people camping there, hiking there. People come from all over the country to see the grave of Kehoe, who's been interned there for decades. And that would be a huge blow and a huge loss, as well as the mesquite woodlands all around that area. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Teresa Boltoldis. I'm going to check. Okay, we don't see her on. What about Susie Hertz? Okay, if you can unmute your mic. Thank
Good
you.
evening. The variance process, as far as I can see, really needs to be revisited by BLM to evaluate the lands that are under consideration to be far from populated and utilized lands, whether it be by humans, wildlife, flora, or fauna. It just doesn't seem to be logically looked at by any means. And I think it's irresponsible on the part of BLM to just open up these lands for variance analysis when they're clearly beside populated areas and clearly at the convenience of whoever the solar manufacturers and diggers of the solar installations are. You know, it's to their convenience and what makes it easy for them, and has nothing to do with what might make any logical sense to any of the rest of us. Secondly, I believe that considering the fact that all of the benefit for these installations that you intend to try to put all over southern Nye County and western Clark County have everything to do with California and nothing to do with Nevada, they need to be planted in California, not in Nevada. I don't think that Nevada should be the dumping ground for the abuse and the destruction of our environment and our tax dollars and our property values for the benefit, the pure benefit of California. And I come from California and I've lived there for 45 years. And as a former Californian, I don't want to see my land in Nevada destroyed because of it. These installations will destroy our property value and the environment, and we should not be the dumping ground. It's a crime. It's just a crime. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I do appreciate everyone is watching the time. So we do appreciate everyone being cognizant of that and respecting everyone else's time. So again, thank you. Okay, Don Hertz. Okay, I don't see Don Hertz on. Let's see, is Don Hertz on with Susie Hertz?
Yes.
Okay, Don Hertz, would you like to go ahead?
Yes. I'm tired of hearing this every time I turn around that they're going to put solar panels around Pahrump. Eventually, this whole town is going to be, property values are going to go so far down, you won't have a town here at all. I'm tired of seeing California dictate to us, telling us how we had to rip up our land so they benefit from us. They need to get off their keisters and build their own solar panels and their own saline plants for water instead of ripping us off and taking all of our water and destroying all of our land. I'm sick of California. That's why I moved out of it. It's been mismanaged, and they're going to try to put it right back on us and us pay the bill while they benefit from us. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Carl Van Wormdeman. Okay, we see you. If you can unmute your mic. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. I'd like to put in the record an article from oilprice.com. It's entitled, "Mining Industry Warns Energy Transition Isn't Sustainable." This is from July the 3rd. So this would be in reference to the need and purpose. There's a glaring problem in the energy transition that not many people are acknowledging. It's being built on the back of finite resources. The mining industry is already warning that there aren't enough metals for all the batteries, solar panels, wind turbines that the transition will require. Because of the short supply, prices are on the rise, as prices across commodity sector, as are. The energy transition has been set by politicians as the only way forward for human civilization. Not every country on the planet is on board with it, except for those that have the loudest voices. And even amid the fossil fuel crunch, that's beginning to cripple economies. The transition goal remains. The seek of the transmission is that the scale of that the architects envision would require massive amounts of metals and materials. What does not get talked about much is that most of these metals and minerals are already in short supply, and they're only started the transition. So this is not a renewable transition, because these are the same finite resources as fossil fuel is. So these companies are not trying to help the environment. They're in the business of making a profit. So they don't really care about creating jobs. They're there to get the subsidies from governments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, the next person is Callie Anderson. Okay, I don't see Callie Anderson. We'll go with Richard Treader. Okay, I see that you're on. If you would like to make a comment, if you wouldn't mind using the raise the hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Okay, we can go ahead and unmute your mic. Great, you can go ahead.
My concern is about the groundwater. We're in a serious drought, and I see water trucks leaving Pahrump and driving out to those sites every day, and people are concerned about their property values. Think what your property value will be when all the wells go dry and there's no water. That'll be a serious concern. And I'd have to piggyback on everything that everybody else has said. I don't see any positive to this. I see only negatives. And I think it's time to say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, those are all the people that have registered to provide public comment. So we can now move on to those that may wish to provide public comment that haven't spoken yet this evening and may not have registered. Okay, if you can, go ahead and use the raise the hand feature, and we will call you in the order that we see the raise the hands going up. So we'll pause for a minute and let everyone, again, if you would like to speak, go ahead and use that raise the hand feature. Okay, I don't see anyone right now using raise the hand or have raised their hand. Okay, I do. So I see one person that did speak earlier. So we will start Sharon Salter with you, but I do want to give it one more minute to see if there is anyone that has not yet spoken this evening that does want to speak. If you do, you can use the raise the hand feature. Okay, we'll go on and we'll start with Shannon Salter. If you want to go ahead, we'll unmute you. And if you can stick to the 2 minutes, and then we will, again, if you are considering making an additional comment or have not commented, please use the raise the hand feature and we will get to you as in the order that we see them. So Shannon, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. I actually, can you hear me? Sorry, okay, good. You can hear
Yes.
me. I actually want to take 1 minute of silence during this public comment forum for all of the plants and animals and Mother Nature and the soils and everything out there that has no voice. So I'm going to start the 1 minute of silence now. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and see if there's anyone else that would like to provide a public comment. I'm looking to see, I do not see anyone else right now identifying that they would like to. Oh, I do have a couple people. Okay, we'll go ahead and take those in the order that we've seen them. So the first person is Carl. Carl, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, you can go ahead and start. If you don't mind unmuting your mic. Okay.
Okay, you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'll continue on with that article out of oilprice.com, July the 3rd. So the combination of short supply and rising prices, of course, making energy transition even costlier than it has been projected to be. It has also reminded us all that because of these minerals, metals and minerals, which are exactly as finite as crude oil and natural gas, the transition is not towards a renewable energy future. It is towards a low carbon future, a lower carbon future. And this future may perpetuate some of the worst models of the past that we don't want so much to leave behind. A lot of the battery material, battery and solar panel metals that the energy transition needs are sourced from Africa, a continent fraught with poverty, corruption, and political uncertainty. It is also a continent that is currently threatened by a new sort of colonialism based on energy transition. Recent analysis of foreign policy researchers wrote that the dirty secret of the Green Revolution is its insatiable hunger for resources from Africa and elsewhere that are produced using the world's dirtiest technologies. What's more is the accelerated shift threatens to replicate the destructive dynamics of the global economy. So this systemic extraction of raw commodities from the global south in a way that made developing countries unimaginably rich while leaving the trail of environmental degradation, human rights violations, and semi-permanent underdevelopment of all the developing world. So not only will we be destroying our own environment, we'll also be destroying other countries by outsourcing the metals. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I do see another hand up. Joyce, I think we can unmute your mic now. If you want to use, there you go. If you want to go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen of Nye County and Pahrump, I just want to point out that nobody on these panels live here in Pahrump or in Nye County. They come from San Francisco, they come from Los Angeles, they're coming from everywhere else but where we live. And again, all of this solar energy that's going to destroy our property values, going to destroy our environment. There's 1,000 feet away from a elementary school that they want to do here at Rough Hat. So I want to point that out, where there's absolutely no benefit to us whatsoever. And according to our illustrious Minister of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, he would call these racist roads and redlining. And I'm completely opposed to it. I encourage you, I implore you to speak to your friends, your neighbors, and everybody involved here in Pahrump and Nye County to kick these people out, get them here, stop them from doing this. We benefit nothing from it whatsoever. They think we run around with our kids going to school barefoot here. This is a sham. It's low-grade energy. It's destroying our environment. It's going to destroy our land. They're going to tell you that, oh, your property values, it's only going to go down only 5%. Oh, the temperature, oh, it's only going to be raised about 5%. Oh, the water, oh, you're only going to lose, oh, maybe about 5% of your water. It's all horseful. They're lying to you. Everything they say is lying to you. It's misinformation, it's disinformation, and it's no information. That's it, I'm done.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next commenter. Let's see, I don't see anybody else with their hand raised. Do you want to go ahead and reset the clock? We will take a brief pause and see if there is anyone else that does wish to provide an additional comment, or if you have not commented yet, you can go ahead and use the raise the hand feature. I will remind everyone that we will stay live until the top of the hour, until 8 o'clock. So we will be here. We will be watching to see if anyone does have an additional comment that they would like to come back on and provide additional comment to. We will continue recording the meeting and continue any public comment up until that 8 o'clock as part of the public record for this meeting. As we've mentioned, if you do have additional questions or public comments that you think of after the meeting, you can use the email address. You can also mail your comments in, and we will give you that address on the next slide when we close out the meeting. But again, that is also in the chat. Okay, again, I do not see anyone with the raise the hand. We will be watching. We will stay live. We will also close out at the top of the hour. So again, we will just stay put and we will watch to make sure that no one else has additional comments. We do want to thank you for attending this evening and your time. We do know your time is valuable. I know a number of people have attended tonight's session and even last night's session. So again, we do appreciate the participation and the attendance. Okay, with that, I'm going to go off screen, but again, we will be here and we will stay live until 8 o'clock. I will go ahead and remind everyone that more information is available on the website. We have the email and mailing address on the slide. And again, I'll remind you that the public comment does end on August 5th. We'll go ahead and leave this slide up for the remaining 20 minutes and close out at the top of the hour. Again, I have not seen any hands up, so I will go back on mute, but again, you are welcome to stay with us and offer any additional public input if you have it. Thank you. Okay, I see another hand up. Shannon Salter, if you want to go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to add that, you know, the Yellow Pine solar site was one thing, and it's really bad. You know, it's right in it, but you know, it's really bad. It's 4.5 square miles. And it's really, really, or it was extremely dense yucca area. Just completely untouched desert pavement, flowering things, bees and insects. I mean, it was beautiful, incredible habitat. But the Golden Currant site is so much worse. Like the Golden Currant site is like probably 1,000 times worse than the Yellow Pine site in terms of public access, the way that the land is used, perhaps even the topography of the land, because it's so rich with gorges and extremely deep washes and extremely hilly terrain. The density of yucca is just as dense as the Yellow Pine solar site. And there are yucca, like I said, that are 15 feet tall. And there are yucca rings that are ancient rings that have root systems that are probably thousands of years old, ancient creosote rings. But the fact that it's so close to the Stump Springs area of critical environmental concern, you know, where of course the tortoises from Yellow Pine have sadly been relocated, because it's so close to that, and it's so close to Cathedral Canyon, and it's so close to Cathedral Canyon Road, and there's so many hiking trails that run through this particular site. It's a really bad area, and I would like the opportunity to provide further information on the hiking trails that I use and the yucca that I've documented that are very tall. If any BLM representatives would like to come out and meet me at the site, I'd love to meet you out there anytime. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and I will let you, if we go to the next slide, again, you can provide that information and comment via mail or via email at the addresses that are on the screen. I know that we also put those in the chat as well. So you will be able to cut and paste those out of the chat, or you can write them down from the slide that is right here. I do see, Shannon, I am not sure if you do want to make an additional comment. I do see your hand up. You can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, you know, I know that you can't answer questions right now, but I had asked a question and then I see that there was a response in my Q&A. I had asked a question about how much carbon the plants on the Golden Currant site and the ancient desert pavement that is anywhere between the 7,000-year-old figure that you guys quoted and the 100,000-year-old figure that Kevin Emmerich quoted. I asked a question about how much carbon that's sequestering. And as Judy pointed out earlier in the comments, the Mojave Desert Land Trust has really documented that in California, the deserts of California are storing about 10% of California's carbon. And in Nevada, it's probably far more, actually. And so I think, you know, when we're talking about the need for projects and the need to address greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, losing the carbon sequestration of this intact ecosystem is working against us. It just is. And, you know, I asked a question about how much carbon that's storing. And somebody responded from the BLM that if the project receives a favorable decision and they go forward with the NEPA process, that they would then study the carbon storage of the plants and the soils. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in how the BLM biologist would study the carbon sequestration of the soils on the site, and how that data would be collected and how it would be made available to the public, and what other scientific agencies they might collaborate with. Because I think that there's a real need for that. As we consider needs, there's a need to find out how much carbon is this, or these arid lands storing, and what do we stand to lose if we lose these places. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we'll go ahead and I will remind you that you can provide that information. And if you do have an additional question or comment, please provide it by email or mail. We will go back to the other slide. I see that Carl is looking to speak again. So if you can go off mute. Okay, you can go ahead.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just to follow up on what Sharon had mentioned about the carbon, is that alternative energy technologies rely on fossil fuels through every stage of their life. They rely on fossil fuels for raw material extraction, for fabrication, for installation and maintenance, and for the decommissioning and disposal. So the amount of savings of carbon, and then that they're supposed to be saving carbon is minimal. And then the destruction of the carbon, natural carbon sequestration in the environment itself, you're probably in the negative. But more importantly, the solution that they're trying to resolve is a false solution, because the global warming is only a symptom of a greater problem, which is the loss of biodiversity. And if we continue to destroy habitat, we're in the middle of the sixth mass extinction. We will go along with it. So this project is solving for the wrong problem. It's a false solution. There will be no savings in the carbon emissions, just in terms of as electric cars are not going to solve our problems. The problem is the car itself, and not how we power the car. So this is the wrong direction. We should be saving habitat, not destroying it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, again, we have about 10 minutes left, so we're going to stay on the line, see if anybody else does use the raise the hand feature to provide an additional comment. We will stay here for the next 10 minutes and be watching. So again, we will leave up this information on the screen, and we will come back and close out in about 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay, I do see Carl, you may have another comment. I see your hand raised. Do you want to go off mute? Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes, since nobody else is saying anything, I can fill the dead space. In regards to this project, it will be degrading desert tortoise habitat on public lands. All tortoises would be evacuated from their burrows and translocated to Stump Spring translocation area across the Topeka Road and the Trout Canyon translocation area. Recently, the translocation for the adjacent approved Yellow Pine Solar Project resulted in the predation of 30 of the moved tortoises by badgers, which are not common desert tortoise predators. This could very well be because they moved the tortoises during a record-breaking drought year and the badgers were desperate for food. Common problems that result from translocations of desert tortoises include predation. Savvy predators like coyotes often keep track of the recently moved disoriented desert tortoises, and they have reduced tortoise numbers on certain translocation projects. This is a bigger problem on drought years, which seems to be every year now. Ravens also search out newly moved tortoises. Overheating, hyperthermia, translocated tortoises often become disoriented and will seek out their former homes. In many cases, tortoises overheat doing this. They have been observed pacing recently built fences, searching for former burrows and water sources. Tortoises are cold-blooded and they do not internally regulate their body temperatures that well. Lack of reproductive success. Recent Smithsonian Institution found that translocated male desert tortoises are not reproducing. So one more reason not to permit. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Okay, we're going ahead, and again, as I mentioned, please let us know if you do have any. We are going to be wrapping it up in about 5 minutes. Okay, Miss Shannon, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, again, speaking to the proximity of the Stump Springs area of critical environmental concern and the Cathedral Canyon historical and cultural resource, I know that a lot of the big green groups, the Nature Conservancy and the Sierra Club and the Wilderness Society, and I believe some others, wrote a letter to the BLM requesting that solar be developed in the Pahrump Valley between Tacoma Road and the town of Pahrump. The Yellow Pine site, as I understand it, was originally they originally applied to build Yellow Pine closer to Sandy Valley on the north side, or no, on the south side of Tacoma Road. And to avoid that heavy Joshua Tree area, those big green groups asked that solar be developed on the north side of Tacoma Road. But on their maps, it did not show solar going all the way up adjacent to the Stump Springs area of critical environmental concern. It was really not anywhere past the Yellow Pine site. And then in their minds, they preferred it to be extending towards the town of Pahrump, which I don't agree with any of that. But even the big groups who are too foolish perhaps to speak out against this, or too, burdened with bureaucratic nonsense, even them in their letter and the maps that they provided did not have solar going all the way running adjacent to Cathedral Canyon Road and to the Stump Springs area of critical environmental concern. Nobody would advocate for that, even if they can't speak out against it for whatever reason. That's not what they were asking for.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and again, as I've mentioned, we're probably going to wrap it up here in a couple minutes. Again, thank you all for participating. We definitely have some people that have provided a number of comments, and we appreciate all of those comments. I see Shannon, if you would like to speak again, do you want to go ahead and unmute your mic?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all. I wanted to thank the BLM for so carefully considering the public input and being such careful stewards of this land. I understand, of course, you are charged with managing the land for multiple uses, but I also just want to say how much I appreciate you listening to public input and taking guidance from the public and being able to use discernment in the application process and deciding, you know, which projects are truly catastrophic. And hopefully in the decades to come, hopefully in the years to come, the Department of Interior will take a different approach to public lands and in fact relish everything that intact ecosystems are providing, you know, carbon storage, habitat for species, biological diversity, you know, hopefully in the years to come before it's too late, our entire administration will just truly value intact ecosystems and will figure out a way how to produce energy without destroying vast tracts of land. And until that time, I just wanted to reiterate that I appreciate you at the BLM and I appreciate you listening to the public and really taking note of what the public has to say. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, again, and we do really appreciate everyone has very much been respectful of the time. And so that has been, it's been very nice that everyone does realize that we have been trying to get to as many as we possibly could. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and move on to our closeout. Again, I will identify how to submit further input once again, and you can see that on there. And again, I want to thank you, but let's go ahead and close out. Shauna, do you want to go ahead and take over?
Yes, thank you, Kenda. And thank you for everyone that joined tonight. The few of you that stayed with us to the end, I really do appreciate it. I listened to all the comments tonight, and of course, all these comments will go on the record and will be used as consideration as we're making our decision on moving forward or not moving forward. And thank you for sticking with us through some of our technical difficulties tonight, but we do appreciate your time. You know, these are long meetings that go late at night, and we do appreciate your time spent with us tonight. So again, just thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you again. Again, we'll keep this slide up for the next couple minutes, just so you can write down if you have not yet. Everyone have a good evening.